I didn't know anybody when I moved to LA, literally nobody. I figured the best way to meet other guys like myself was to go hang out in bars and nightclubs where other gay men hang. And back in the day, I like to consider myself a dancer. So I would go to one of the popular dance clubs. It was called Probe on Highland Avenue. I think my third time there, I met a gentleman. He asked me if I liked to party. Now, I didn't know what that meant at the time. I didn't. But I said, sure. And we were at my place and we did acid, ecstasy, and marijuana. And it was heavenly. He introduced me to bondage and S&M, and I loved it. Our crystal meth use was, once a month. And then it was every other weekend. And then it became every weekend. And by 1994, when I left him, so 3.5 years, I was doing crystal meth every day. I stole money from my job, and the accumulated grief, I don't know what, but it was a way to escape and try to get away from the grief. Crystal meth seemed to solve all of my problems. I wasn't hungry, so I lost weight, which I loved. And I've always been tired. My whole life I've been tired. And it gave me energy. And it seemed to solve all of my problems. But by 4 years later, it had become all of my problems. And I was very fortunate. I had a supervisor, my job, who recognized what was going on with me, told me to hurry up, get a leave of absence approved before they fired me. So I found a psychiatrist and I got a diagnosis of severe depression, and I went out on disability leave. Unfortunately, all that meant was now I had more time to do more drugs. And so it got worse and worse. And it got to the point where I could not leave the house unless I had a hit of speed. And I was either doing it or looking for it. But then one New Year's, when I was 26, I decided I would stop. I could stop using this crystal meth and get my life back together. And then in the first week of February, I decided to go visit my dealer to say hi. The things us addicts tell ourselves. So he gave me a line. And as I was leaving, he handed me a little bag. He said, why don't you just take a little bit of this for now and come back and see me later? Now, I was very excited because I've had a crush on my dealer for years. And I'd been wanting to have sex with him. And now it was finally going to happen. So I was very excited. Riding my bike through the city of West Hollywood, sheriff car drives by me, does a U-E, comes back with lights and its siren flashing, and pulls me over on my bike. So they arrested me, put me in the back of the car, put my bicycle in the trunk, and I spent 5 days and 5 nights in the LA County Correctional System with essentially the paperwork trying to catch up with my body as I moved through the system when they lost me. That's a hell of a fucking story all by itself. I was charged with possession. And when I asked the cops why they stopped me, what made them stop me, they told me that very morning they had been briefed that crystal meth dealers were riding around West Hollywood on bicycles with no lights on their bicycles. And that if they were to see one, they were to stop them. Now, it just so happened my light had burnt out and they stopped me. And like I said, I spent 5 days and 5 nights in the LA County Correctional System. Even that wasn't enough to make me stop. It wasn't until I had my parole hearing. It was the day I signed the paperwork saying if I were to do crystal meth or get caught with crystal meth or anybody with crystal meth, from then on, I would be rearrested, re-jailed, and sentenced. California was just beginning to offer a diversion program for people who have just arrested for the first time for drugs or alcohol. The program was I had to be in AA for 12 weeks and I had to take regular P tests. I had signed that piece of paper. And that night I went back to my dealer because I'd had a rough day in court. We got high, we went back out, and it was, I don't know, like 1 a.m. And he decided to go dumpster diving. Now, I had heard the words dumpster diving before, but I didn't know it actually meant jumping into a dumpster, diving into a dumpster, and going through it. And he said, let's go dumpster diving. And we're walking down this alleyway in West Hollywood, and he jumps into this bin. And I see down the alley there are 2 West Hollywood Sheriff cop cars. And it hits me. Oh my God. If they come here and I get arrested, it is over. So it was actually the threat of being rearrested and reincarcerated that finally got me to stop. Well, stop using at that time. And it was during this period of time that I also happened to get a part-time job working for a headhunter. And he had 20 years of sobriety and recognized all of the symptoms of an active addict in me and asked me one night if I wanted to go to an AA meeting with him. So this was the mid-late 90s. There was no such thing as Crystal Meth Anonymous at the time. There was only AA, really. But I found going to AA meetings and talking about my crystal meth addiction didn't fly. They didn't want to hear it. You know, we're here to help alcoholics, not drug addicts. Find your own place. So it was really tough. But then my boss introduced me to this small group of gay men who met at one gentleman's home every Wednesday night. And I finally found some sense of peace. But after 2 years, I decided I wanted to go back to smoking weed. Well, you know, you can't be in a 12-step recovery program and do anything at all. So I had to leave AA. And when I told my boss, who was also my sponsor, which is a big no-no, he should have known better, he fired me because he thought I was using crystal meth because I was tired all the time and I would take naps during work. A week after he fired me, I finally had a sleep apnea test. Come to find out, I was waking up an average of 42 times an hour, which meant I was never getting 2 minutes of sleep ever at the same time, which would explain my exhaustion, which is why I was tired all the time. But my boss didn't know that, and I didn't know that. All the reasons I used crystal meth to fight appetite and tiredness, etc. And if I'd known years earlier that the reason I was so tired is because I wasn't getting a good night's sleep, who knows how my life would have gone. So the CPAP literally changed my life. I got my life back. It just so happens that during that period of that questionable period of time, I got accepted at a place called Kalani Hanua on the big island of Hawaii, which is an echo healing yoga retreat. And for 3 months, they would house and feed me. And all I had to do was clean toilets and do laundry and make beds. I thought it was great. But during those 3 months, I came to understand that I really am filled with the aloha spirit, that I really am a good man. That changed my life more than sobriety did. Just understanding of myself and my place in the world and what good I can do just by being me. And I wouldn't say the desire was completely gone, but what happened was it used to be when I thought of crystal meth and all I had to do was think about it, my heart would race. I'd start to sweat because of the prospect of probably getting high. And, you know, I had spent 6 years creating that dynamic within my physiology. But something magical happened where instead of getting excited when I thought of crystal meth, instead when I thought of it, it hurt. It repulsed me. And man, that made all the difference. It's what changed for me. And again, I'm fortunate. I feel blessed. I have friends who never made it out of that hole. And I really had to, you know, crawl out of it by my fingernails to get out of that fucking spot. But again, friends, people who loved me for me and supported me, and without them and without sobriety, I wouldn't be here today. All right, so that was 23 years ago now. At 60, I consider myself extremely fortunate. I was blessed to have a loving family, great friendships. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I'm happier than I've ever been. I have a great job. I'm really glad I'm at the end of my career. um, but I've got a great job working with a real, true professional team of research coordinators at UCLA. And I really hope it's my last job. I hope this is the last thing I have to do. I'm really good being single. My idea of romance has changed entirely with my 3 different relationships. I'm good. I'm really good. I'm happy. I really am. Happier than I've ever been. And very satisfied with my life right here and right now.